welcome to another episode of the Eagles Insights podcast.
This is a podcast where we dive deeper into our school community and highlight the stories, ideas, and people making a difference around us.
Today we are so excited to have a very special guest with us, the leaders of Girl Up, Mr. Quinn and Miss Katie, alongside them a staple of the Girl Up group, Chloe.
Our first guest is one of the newest members of the Dunecrest community, but has already made a big impact. As a high school English teacher, yearbook advisor, newspaper supporter, and one of the leaders of Girl Up, Miss Katie brings creativity, energy, and a strong sense of community on campus.
Our second guest is someone many students know as much more than a middle school math teacher. Whether he's coaching, organizing athletics, supporting trips, helping students, or simply being someone people can count on, Mr. Quinn has become one of the most valued and impactful members of the Dunecrest community through his constant dedication and support.
Our final guest is Chloe from grade 11, a student representative and a key member of Girl Up. As someone heavily involved in the club, she helps shape many of the experiences and events that make Girl Up such an important part of our school community.
Mr. Quinn, for people who may not know, what is Girl Up and what are the club's goals and missions at the school?
So back in 2010, I think, the United Nations created this initiative to really empower women and girls to kind of spearhead these type of initiatives of leadership while still being able to promote like equity in the classroom, education, and then the most important one, just making a change to the environment that they're living in. But before I got Chloe, Katie, do you guys want to add to that? Like, what do you think of what that Girl Up initiative is and what it is?
I think it's meant to give a voice to underrepresented women and spread awareness, especially in a school setting. It's vital to influence our young people to have more voice in the community and change how they think, especially if it's more on conservative views.
Yeah, I think that's really important because a lot of people, they don't know how to use their voice, but they want to. So it's really important for them to join a group like this so they get their voice involved in the school community. Even if they don't want to be a leader, they can help somehow contribute their voice to the community.
Absolutely.
Miss Katie, what inspired you to get involved in Girl Up this year?
Well, I've been involved in lots of groups with young women and young teenagers in different schools that I've worked in, but I was really inspired. I didn't really know much about the group before I kind of got here and what they did. And when I first met the group of girls that are in Girl Up, I felt really inspired. They're such an awesome, forward-thinking, kind of progressive group that have some really amazing initiatives, and they've got a really good, bubbly energy. And I love anyone that's got energy and wants to do things and make a positive change. So that really inspired me to get involved and support them in any way that I could. And Mr. Quinn's a great person to work alongside, and Chloe's a really awesome leader that we have in that group as well.
Chloe, Girl Up has become such a recognizable part of the Dunecrest community. Why do you think the club connects with so many students?
Well, I know in my experience, when I first heard of Girl Up in our school, I was, I think, in like 6th or 7th grade. And when we were doing the, I think, walk a mile in her shoes, and I remember how inspired it made me because I feel like it really touches all of the grades in our school, all of the levels. And the meanings behind some of the things we do are just so poignant. It stuck with me from 6th grade to now. So I think that's why it's become so recognizable.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
I also think the creator, one of our creators that's not here anymore, and Miss Noor, really started that foundation. And coming with a background of Egyptian descent, her approach with being Muslim also helped that inspire other women and other girls here and take on that leadership. And then when they found that teacher also so passionate about it, a lot of them also gravitated to her. And I think that's also added to the effect of why it's such a big part of our school now.
Yeah, and I think her impact on it as well. But that actually leads us to our next question. What impacts you guys think Girl Up has had on the culture and community of the school?
Girl Up's had a significant impact on the culture and the community. It impacts everyone constantly, week to week, event to event. They've just this year looked at different female empowerment icons. We support different groups at Valentine's Day. What else have we done? Gratitude Week and Kindness Week. Yeah. I think that they're an awesome group of girls that have, I don't even know, there's just so much that we've done.
We've done so much, but I think for me, the biggest part about this is the leadership that each student is doing with each activity. And then the best part is it got a little hit with the crisis. But after each event, we always reflected on it and been like, how can we make this better for next year? And I think that reflection and then bringing it back and the energy that the girls brought into the group really made it kind of like stand out for me with that. And then as far as what this year is, at the end of the year, we're going to reflect back and be like, what could we have done better? What could we have done differently? Because this is like a project that's never going to be 100% guaranteed that's going to work. We have our areas that we can grow in, and we have the areas that we did well in, and it's just like any type of company. We kind of build upon that. And the big part is kind of where this started with Chloe at the beginning of the year. She came in with all these ideas of what we wanted to do with it. You know, some things we hit, some things we didn't, and then we build upon that. One of the things we didn't get hit this year was the high heel race. Yeah. That's something we look at next year and say, listen, what can we do to make this thing knocked off, and where can we start with that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Chloe, do you want to add anything to that?
I think there's also, it's such a prevalent group in the school, like there are so many different people, and like Quinn said, obviously Chloe's come with all these ideas, but there's so many other girls that have taken different hats each month and have brought something new to the table, whether that be a different event or a different kind of notice or an idea that they're sharing with the school. And I think it's such a growing group that are only going to continue to have more and more impact as we get more members and we get bigger and we have more like awareness around the school, which we already do have, but we want it to continue.
Yeah.
Chloe, what has been one of your favorite Girl Up memories or events so far?
One of my favorite Girl Up memories, linking back to when I said I was in grade 6, was when we were doing the this year with the Valentine's Day and the posters and the photo booth. I really love that one because we were also working with our 6th graders and to even like our teachers taking photos in the same photo booth, and it just showed how the community was all together, and it really like spread the impact of Girl Up and the message behind what we're trying to convey.
That's really important because it shows that Girl Up isn't a community to only promote girls or to promote women and that their ideas are important and equality, but it also shows the higher impact it could do on many other messages for life. So, Miss Katie, what advice would you give to students who want to become more involved in their school community or take leadership?
Oh, my advice is just do it. I think it's all up to you to go outside of your comfort zone to get involved, and kind of sitting in the back and waiting for someone else to make that change isn't going to lead to anything. It's so important that you step out of your comfort zone, like I said, find something that interests you and that you're passionate about, and go out there and make a difference. Be brave, be confident. And it brings you so many things in life, right? Like it changes your skills, your perspectives, it gives you leadership foundations, and it gives you an insight that you maybe didn't have before.
Yeah, I think it honestly like totally changes who you are if you just stop trying to be like the team member, which is also very important. You learn how to work with others but take on leadership roles, because you might want to leave a mark on the school, or you want to change the values or some culture in our community. So it's very important to take those leadership roles, and like you said, no one's going to do it for you if you don't do it. So as we get to our last question, gratitude is a huge value in our school community and in our daily lives. We often take many things for granted and don't always pause to appreciate them. For each of you, what are 3 things you're grateful for?
So I'll go first, but mine is going to be, your standard 2 answers. Family. I'm really grateful for my family giving me the opportunity to be overseas here while they're still back in the U.S. I'm really grateful for my health. I'm able to run at the age that I'm at and, participate in all the things I want to do. But the third one actually kind of hits home, that really kills me, that I am constantly seeing all the time, and it confuses me and it gives me gratitude every time I see it. But it's really like when I look outside and I look at the workers building all these buildings, and I look at the people doing all these things, and then I look at the world that I'm living in an AC world, and I'm like coming down hard on a student because they didn't study for a minor that got a 65% when they could have gotten 90%. I don't know why I got to live the life that I live, earning the money that I'm earning, in the skin color that I have, with the position that I have, and looking outside, and if those people out there were in the same position, would they make a greater effect or have a different effect onto people? And that's kind of why I kind of like reset my kindness meter and reset that mindset of like, what am I trying to push onto the world? And if I can make a difference of one student in my class versus the other student, then that's great. the other thing that I did, I looked at, and the reason, and it goes back into this, I'm also trying to really promote and be grateful for the students that are buying into what I sell, because I know I'm a very tough teacher that has high expectations for them, and that rigidity kind of can push people away, but they know at the end of the day it's going to make them better and as they kind of move on. So I'm really grateful for those 4 things that kind of push it out.
You want us to follow that up, Mr. Quinn?
Well, I was really hoping I was the last one with that, because I told you this. I have the 2 standard ones, and then the third one, it's like it constantly like reflects me. But again, everyone has their own personal gratitudes, you know, like.
Yeah.
And it's God or whatever our beliefs are that got us in the position that we're in, and I think if we just keep reflecting back on that idea, and hopefully that one person pushes that kindness, and you're in that Starbucks line and says, yeah, I'm going to pay for the people behind me, and then that paying it forward passes on. I think that's what would make our world a little better in any type of realm. And if I could do that with Girl Up, then it'd be great.
I think I'm grateful for are those little small moments when like each second passes by and you feel it, because I feel like time recently has been going by so fast that like I've become so grateful for like each minute. Also recently, things I've been grateful for are like my friends, my community, having people to support me and back me, like my teachers like Mr. Quinn, Miss Jones, Mr. Mitchell. And another thing I'm grateful for is prom coming up soon.
Got it. Clock it.
To go on that, I think I'm so grateful for my community. I've only been here for a year and I feel really, really like embedded in it now, which is so awesome. So I'm grateful for obviously awesome students like you guys who bring these sorts of things to the table and try to make a difference. Obviously really awesome colleagues here that I feel really supported by, and then obviously just friends and stuff like that. I'm so grateful for FaceTime. I'm always on the phone to friends and family out there. That sounds quite shallow, right? But it's still, you're having that connection all the time, so keeping in touch with family. And then lastly, I'm just grateful for like the opportunity for yourself to decide whether to have a glass half full attitude or a glass half empty. Like you can come into whatever you want. So I'm grateful that in our lives we get to be privileged, like Mr. Quinn talked about, acknowledging the privilege and stuff like that, but being able to decide whether you take that into a positive route or you go down a negative alley. So yeah, grateful for that, and grateful for this chance for Girl Up to Shine. Love it.
Can I just add one more thing to that? Not for the gratefulness, but like my favorite part. It was actually one of our events in Pink Week where there were certain things that needed to get done, and it was our second big event that we were coming into play. And on the onset, in the moment, it felt like a failure, and it felt like, oh, we weren't prepared, and going into it. But on the back end of it, when we were reflecting it and talking to other people, it actually worked out better the way that we did it, because we started recognizing how we could have done it differently. So through a moment that we were the frog in the pot that felt the boiling, and we felt the boiling, it actually worked out great, where we can now change it and make it a better event based upon the certain things that we did afterward. And that is why I really love this aspect of this group, is that it is something that's just ongoing that people make failures about. And that the last one I have is the one failure that reminds me of just coming into it was, I think maybe 3 years ago, on the Oscar night where everyone was watching, there was an individual who went up and said La La Land won, but actually that was the wrong event, and instead it was a totally different movie. And then a moment like that, where you were on the biggest stage, where you don't make some mistakes like that, a mistake happened, and I kind of learned through that experience that the mistakes happen, and then you learn to adjust to it next time. And they're not things that are like death-defying mistakes. Everyone can just push through, and then the moment passes and you get through it. But go ahead.
I'm really glad to mention that, because it reminds me of something I always say to myself that I read in a book. It says, "This too shall pass." So whatever you go through, just know that it's not the end of life. You're gonna get through it. Thank you so much, Miss Katie, Mr. Quinn, and Chloe for joining us today. And thank you to everyone listening to the Eagles Inside podcast,
where we soar above the surface to bring you deeper insights and take a closer look at stories around us. See you next time.
Bye guys.